good news.
I just forgot to
Okay.
start that at the beginning.
Oh, that's okay. You want me to start all over again?
No.
I think it should be okay. As long as we have it in the minutes.
Okay, then Mr. Lagarza, the commission will yield to you for an Oregon Employment Department.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chair Carper, and thank you, Commissioners. We have with us today special guest Lynn Wallace, and she works for the Oregon Deployment Department there, and just as a workforce analyst, and really helps us to really think about what's happening within Oregon, from a standpoint of what, prior to COVID and then after COVID, and then really taking a deeper dive what's going on in the tri-metro counties and also within the city of Estacada. So it's a great opportunity to have her here with Lynn with us here today. And as we go along, if you have some questions, please feel free to raise your hand, and Chair Carpenter, you can just call on them, or we can kind of keep the free flow as we go through the conversation here today for next time. So Lynn, thank you for being with us here today, and I'm going to turn over to you. Okay, you've unmuted, Lynn. We see that. You want to try? Lynn, can you hear us? Hello?
Hey, John, I'm wondering if maybe Lynn wants to drop off and come back on and accept as a panelist. Maybe that'll allow.
Lynn,
For
can you hear
audio.
that? Amy, yeah.
Yeah, I had sent the invite for that earlier, but Lynn had declined it. I'll resend it just in case.
Sometimes it can cause pause if you have two options.
Well, maybe as we wait in the interim, and I am very excited to receive this report, can we move forward with some other business while we work through the process?
Oh my God, this is ridiculous.
Oh, we can hear
We got you. We
now.
can hear you, Lynn. We can hear you now. We
I
can hear you,
can-
Lynn.
The
I
bit where
cannot
you
get-
should have been muted.
I
okay.
cannot get in. I've been trying for 10 minutes to get in, and
You're
it's
in
not
now.
allowing me. But I'm not in. I don't see the screen.
Well, we can. Oh, okay. Okay. There you go. We got the first slide up there.
But I'm not seeing it.
You're not
So
seeing it.
no, and I don't know what happened, but I never had this problem in Zoom before. So I don't know.
Did you, we sent you over a panelist. Were you able to accept it as the panelist there?
I didn't see that. No,
Okay.
because I wasn't in when you did it, I guess.
Maybe
So
try.
maybe I'll just, I have a choice here. It's sending me, join as a panelist, stay as an attendee.
Join as a panelist there if you can accept that.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
And you can see me probably because I put my, okay, let's video.
There you
There.
are. Yay!
Myself.
All
Oh,
right.
I am worn out. Trying to get into a Zoom meeting. Oh my God, let me calm down. Oh, okay. Surprises, surprises. You gotta be ready to do what it takes. All right. Sorry, you guys. I don't know. Is this did I hear somebody say this was your first Zoom meeting set up with the city?
Yes, it was our first time doing this. So the city
Oh,
was having
okay.
auditors in
So I
town.
don't
So
know.
so
I'll
this is
just
our
wait.
first test run at this. So
Okay.
but
Well, it
thank
worked.
you,
It's
and
working.
we're trying to make it as much as possible engaging. So If you have
Okay.
some questions, I told them, Lynn, to, to go ahead and ask, shoot away as we go here. So turn it
All right.
over to you to go through it there here. So thank you.
So is somebody gonna probably take care of the slides for me? in
Yeah,
advance
just say
then?
next slide and Mads can run the next slide for you.
All right, next slide, please.
They were them.
Great. Okay, well, I thought I'd break this presentation down, especially since I didn't have, I had some time here for it, into 4 categories. So kind of looking at job recovery and then demand for workers and projected job growth. And then I had a few slides on Estacada, pretty current. I do a kind of a different cities. I kind of look at kind of a focus on just kind of the demographics, the workforce. Usually it's 3 or 4 pages. I'm trying to keep that up. Kind of indicators for cities. So I was looking back in the last I did for Estacada, and I updated a few of my slides. So that's what I'll be sharing with you at the end here. So the job recovery is one way, but first, before I start, I need to make a disclaimer here. Because of the federal issues we're having with the closing of our federal government, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, where we get the majority of our unemployment and employment data, has been suspended. So that means that the data for September, which we're usually a month behind, is not available. So I'll have to be using August data for most of these slides. And so that was last month's data. But I just wanted to make sure you knew that we're a little behind. And I don't know when, we're going to get our data in, and nobody does. So, so let's, the next slide, please. We'll look at job recovery really quickly. Employment reached 1,200,000, almost 240,000 jobs in August. And this is looking at the Portland MSA. And that includes 5 counties in, 5 counties in Oregon and 2 in Washington. So far, the Portland MSA has added back nearly all of the 179,000 jobs lost during the COVID recession. So we're up, I think we're about 97% in the Portland MSA as far as adding back our jobs. And we had really lost a lot of jobs there all of a sudden. So you'll see this, where the recession was on April 2020. And it's that way throughout all the different counties and the MSAs. So nobody was spared. Next slide, please. Now the majority, so which jobs did have grown the fastest in the MSA, the Portland MSA? The majority, as you can see in these slides in the top, has been in accommodation and food services. They've added back the most jobs, and healthcare and social assistance, which together with the accommodation and food services, over 95,000 jobs since the recession. There have been a few that have not yet added back jobs, and that's finance and insurance at the lower bottom left, over 3,000 still remaining to be made up, and management of companies and enterprises and manufacturing are the top 3 that still have negative growth. Next slide. So this is looking just at Clackamas County, and there are covered employment in August, which is the latest we have, reached 172,900. And this is an increase of 200 jobs from the previous month, which is good. But which is not good is a decrease of 900 jobs from a year ago. So we measure job growth 2 ways, month to month and year to year. And I think sometimes we don't do a good job of explaining that, what we're talking about.
Mhm.
So as of August, Clackamas County has recovered more than 26,000 jobs lost during the recession, and we're like about 111% of recovered jobs. Next slide, please. So which jobs added back the most? The majority of job growth in Clackamas County has come from 3 broad industries: leisure and hospitality, health services, and professional and business services. Now, professional business services is a really huge industry. It's comprised of NAICS 54, 55, and 56. And it includes accounting firms, tax preparation, architectural engineering, computer systems, scientific research and development, to just name a few. So you can see why that is one of the top broad industries that have added back the most jobs. Next slide, please.
Lynn, what was local government, the decline in local government? I'm sorry, the slide just
Oh, no, yeah, the previous,
slid there.
mostly, I believe that's mostly education. Local government education. Okay, next slide. And this slide is comparing the Portland Tri-Counties, Clackamas, Multnomah, and Washington counties, and looking at the percentage growth in jobs. And this is year to year. And we're up to August of this year. And you can see that on Clackamas County, which is the red, has just been in the negative only for the last 2 months. But we have had positive net employment growth for the past 19 months. So it's been pretty good until just a few months ago. On the other hand, Multnomah and Washington counties have seen negative year-to-year employment growth for the last 10 months. And their negative employment growth reached negative 1.8% in August for both counties.
Wow.
So they've had a steeper decline. Next graph. Next slide. Demand for workers. We're going to look at 2 ways that we measure demand for workers. And the next slide, please. One way to measure is this demand is look at our job vacancies. So we have done, next slide, please. We do a quarterly survey, which I think we are unique. I don't think any other states do this. I'm not 100% sure, but I've heard talk that we're the only state that does this. And we have a quarterly survey we send out to private businesses only. We don't do government. We do private businesses who have at least 2 employees. And our last survey was sent out in spring of 2025. And employers were asked if they were hiring. If they were, employers gave details about each of their job vacancy, including the job title of the vacancy, whether it was full or part-time, whether it was permanent or temporary, the starting wage, and the education and experience requirements. And another thing that's really interesting, we let them write in on that last question we asked. If they identified that their vacancies were difficult to fill, we asked them why. And we get quite a few responses that way. Now, this shows Oregon job vacancies. And the private businesses reported a little over 51,000 job vacancies in spring of 25. And the number of job vacancies have decreased by 12% from a year ago. So we don't have as many job vacancies as we did for the same survey 1 year ago. The average starting wage was $28.38. Okay, next slide, please. Well, can you go back to the previous slide? I wanted to mention that 58 over a half of the employers said that their vacancies were difficult to fill in this last survey. Next slide, please. Okay, so we broke it down to by industry, and these are broad industries. And the industries with the highest number of job vacancies, including healthcare and social assistance, professional, scientific, and technical services, which is very large industry, and it encompasses a lot of occupations, and manufacturing. So those are their top 3 industries that a large portion of employers are reporting they're having difficulty finding workers. Next slide. So this breaks it down by the regions that we send the survey to. We send it out to the Portland Metro, which is Washington and Washington and Multnomah County, and then the Mid-Valley, and then Clackamas alone, because we are our own WIB, so we get our own survey. The East Cascades, Lane, Northwest Oregon, Rogue Valley, Southwestern Oregon, and Eastern Oregon. Most of these are kind of comprised of our WIB areas in workforce board areas in Oregon. Let's see. The Portland Tri-County area, which is the Portland Metro and Clackamas County, accounted for, 47% of all the job vacancies, totaling a little over 24,000 in our last survey. Next slide. Now this is looking at job vacancy ratio, which is, first of all, the US is a dark green, Oregon is a light green. So Oregon's unemployed to job vacancy, at the very end there, you can see it reached 1.8% during spring of 2025. So we use our job vacancy survey along with the our unemployed numbers and come up with this factor. So it has mostly been rising from a low of 0.7 in 2022, which was less than 1 to 1 job. Now we just say it's 2 to 1. It's really 1.8, but you don't going to split somebody apart. So it's like 2 to 1. So that means that we have 2 workers for every job opening. Roughly. Back when during the recession, that ratio reached 5 workers to 1 job opening. So I think right now it looks pretty healthy as far as the keeping up with the demand and having workers, finding work. And the nation is I think 1. It's down to 1 to 1. So it's 1 worker for every job opening. Next slide, please. Next slide. We'll look at online ads now. Now, we look at demand for jobs another way too. And these online ads are job ads that are captured by the Conference Board Help Wanted online program. And they
Mhm.
provide this data every month. And the graph shows that both the number of total online ads, which is the top line, and the number of new online ads in the Portland MSA have remained relatively stable throughout the last few years. But the total ads have been trending down a little since 2022. But it's nothing significant, I would say. Right now, it seems relatively stable from what it's been in the near past.
Mhm.
Next slide, please. And when you look at the help wanted ads, you can break it down by county, which is kind of interesting. So together, Multnomah, Washington, and Clackamas County had the highest number of online ads in August. So you can see then how the numbers vacillate. There's quite a difference between Eastern Oregon and rural Oregon and the Portland metro area. And this is for August. Okay, the next slide, please. Workforce supply. We'll look at Oregon's labor force participation rate next. Next slide. The labor force participation rate in Oregon has ticked up at the very far right to 62.9% in August. And this definition of what the labor force participation rate is, the number of people who are either working or actively seeking work, 16 years or older, as a share of the working age population. So this shows it looks pretty healthy right now. So we can kind of look at the population that is in the labor force. So you're in the labor force if you're working, you're also in the labor force if you're actively not working and actively seeking work. So that has been ticking up too. And this is for Oregon overall.
Mhm.
And you can see what happened, during the recession, how it dipped down there. And it has been higher. It has been much higher way back years and years ago. It even got as far as like 60, it looks like 69% or 69.0 at one point. But this seems like a relatively healthy economy. Next slide, please. Now we're looking at the number of
Hey, Lynn,
unemployed.
hey,
Yes.
Council McElroy, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm just curious, do you have any information about how that participation rate compares to other states around us?
I think that's available. Yes, I'd have to find it, but yeah,
Is that what
I
that
think
chart
it is.
was referring to? That basically of the people that are able to work and pursuing work, only 60% of them are working?
No, that's just looking at the whole labor force. So you're considered in the labor force if you're working, but also if you're not working, if you're unemployed, but looking for work. So you're all part of this number. You add that together. So
What's
that's
the other 38%?
that's people not in the labor force.
Gotcha. Understood.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Oh, sure. So, okay. So this, we've been noticing, keeping an eye on this. This is the state again. This is Oregon. And looking at the number, and this is not seasonally adjusted, as you can see. Now this is during August. The number of unemployed Oregonians reached almost 124,000. And you can see where that's quite a bit more than last year at this time. And then it was even less in 23. So this is an increase of 26,200 unemployed Oregonians from just a year ago in August of last year. So we do see the number of unemployed people going up every year for a while now. It is increasing.
Could I just state, though, I think there's one asterisk to this increase in number is the state legislature passed a law 2 years ago. And so particularly school workers, classified school workers, when the school year ended, the law made them eligible to claim unemployment during the off season. And so we have equally seen a steep uprise in our unemployment costs because of this new law. And I wonder if that data is cyclical with new people being eligible to claim unemployment during the off seasons of typical times, similar to that of like summer fire season, etc.
Yeah, well, this is not seasonally adjusted, so that's not capturing that. But if it was seasonally adjusted, we take into account certain months, certain things happen. That's how you seasonally adjust it. But I chose to not show that. I chose to see just the raw, not seasonally adjusted data. But I think if you saw seasonally adjusted, and especially in the months they're laying off teachers, or even, and then the months they're rehiring teachers, that might smooth that out a little bit. So you have a much smoother line.
Thank you. I appreciate that question. Commissioner Sale, you had a question as well?
Well, I'm just following up on your question. So the fact that it's not seasonally adjusted doesn't mean that it's not in there, right? I mean, if you were seasonally adjusted, you'd be able to show where in the season it happened. The fact that it's not seasonally adjusted would mean that it is encapsulated in this number, right? What Ryan was talking about, Chair Carpenter.
What your eyes would see, you see where I've circled it, that up and down, up and down, up and down. See, that's, yeah, but if it was seasonally adjusted, the whole graph would
Okay.
be smooth.
So we could go over to the 2025 number and it's in that number. The difference between 2025 and 2024 of 124,000 to 97,700, that's the whole sum. So that 25,000 does include what Chair Carpenter is talking about.
It would have to include, because if it's the total number of all people in unemployment, then that annual number would represent the people who claimed that, correct? And that's kind of what we're agreeing to.
Well, just think, I mean, I'm trying to think. Okay, not seasonally adjusted, the raw numbers. Seasonally adjusted, it just means that you're not seeing the changes from month to month, like at Christmas time, for instance, December. All of a sudden, there's a spike in retail sales people. I don't know if there is anymore, but yeah, that kind of thing. So there would be, more,
Yeah.
less. You know what I mean?
I think, Lynn, we're saying the same thing. The thing is if September had 10 people unemployed, but then October had 50 people unemployed because of that seasonal up and down throughout the month. If you just counted those 2 months, 10 and 50, then that would say 60 people this year claimed unemployment. And so as we read the data, we're saying 123,900 people claimed unemployment last year, which accounts for the seasonal wave, but it's everybody. Are we reading that wrong?
Yes, it includes people that claim, okay? There's many more people that don't have insurance claims that are unemployed. So this captures everybody.
Okay, thank you.
The claimants are just a portion of the unemployed.
That makes sense. I appreciate that clarification. Yep,
Okay, okay. I'm not a UI specialist, but yeah, but that's what happens. Okay, so Next slide, please. No, I love your questions. Please keep keep it up. It makes me think. So this is looks at Oregon, and we try to keep this up every month. And this shows us why are Oregonians unemployed. And this comes from the current population survey, the census current population survey. So these are estimates. So the dark blue line, the thick, let me see here. Yes, the thickest turquoise line are entrants, are new people either returning to the workforce or new, just out of college. So or whatever, training. And then the gold line are the job losers. So they are the ones that get laid off. They're classified as people being laid off. But the job leavers is the green bottom line, and they're the ones that leave their jobs voluntarily to either retire or get another job or whatever. So you can see that the job leavers, which are the ones that voluntarily quit, is going down somewhat. But the job losers, people that are getting laid off, has pretty much has a spike there since 2024, somewhere in there. So that is increasing. And the people entering the workforce for the first time or after many years being out is somewhat has a slight slope to it, but it's staying relatively the same. So that means that less workers are voluntarily leaving their jobs. They're just kind of hanging in there and waiting to see what's going to happen. But more workers are being laid off. And we have a slight uptick, pretty slight in new workers entering the workforce. Next slide, please. So this is looking at the same data, unemployment levels here as the slide before this, or 2 slides ago, only in the Portland Metro MSA area. And the same picture is showing about the same picture here as far as the number of unemployed increasing over time. So the number of unemployed in August, which is our latest data, reached 65,614 in August in the Portland MSA. And it's been growing since April of 2023. About then is when it started growing, when there were 44,590 unemployed residents. Then the unemployment rate was 3.2. Now the unemployment rate in August, it was 4.7%. So we can look at the unemployment rate, but that also means people, actual numbers of people. So this is looking at the actual numbers of people that have that are no longer employed, that are unemployed. That means that they're still in the labor force looking for work, but they were unemployed in August. Next slide. Now we're going to be looking at next slide, please, some projected job growth. Our research section division produces 10-year. We project the job openings, both industry and occupations, for 10-year intervals every year. So our last projections was for 2023 to 2033, 10-year period. By the way, we will have our new projections out. I just don't know what the date will be when it will be released. I'm thinking sometime in January now. I think we're gonna have a little slowing down when we can release it, but we'll see. but it's due in a few months. We'll have our new projections for 2024 to 2034. Ryan, did
Awesome.
you have a?
Yeah, just Lynn, before you move on to the next bullet point, this is great, by the way. I just want to say I appreciate this data. Commissioner Cross had a quick question, and before we kept moving forward, I wanted to make sure you had the opportunity to ask that. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you very much, Lynn. A question about the data. Are the data for employment and unemployment normalized for population size and workforce size? Because those socioeconomic factors would obviously play into the unemployment and employment data. So you might see unemployment increasing, and that might just simply be because more people moved into an area who were not yet part of the employed workforce. So do your data factor the numbers in?
Oh, there's just so much to it. We have a special, our unemployment economist that takes care of all that and works in conjunction with the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So right now, I use it's called the local area unemployment statistics, Laos, and it captures all the counties and the cities' unemployment numbers. And they're all estimates. And then there's also another way to look at it. You can go employment by population ratio. I don't really pay too much attention to that, to tell you the truth, but there are numbers that are estimated. Like you said, you can look at the employment to population ratio. And I don't know if that goes down to the city level or it just stops at the county level.
Okay.
I don't
So
know
it
the
could
answer
mean
to
that, right, it could mean that as an absolute, the unemployment went down, but it could also be that people who didn't have a job simply moved out of the Portland MSA.
Well, yes, except these are revised. They are captured and revised every month. They're monthly statistics. And that's why people look at, well, this was the amount last month and now you're changing it. Well, that's what happens with our employment and unemployment statistics. They are revised monthly. So for instance, the August data that we have, that number will not probably be the same when it's next month, when it's revised, or this is an unusual time right now and everything's closed down, but because it's constantly revised. And then there's an annual revision. So these revisions are done so that they can be more accurate because more data is coming in all the time. More data from these surveys, more data is captured by government. So yeah, so it would be hard because it's a moving target. I mean, it's not static numbers any more than people moving in. So,
For sure.
that's how it keeps up with reality
Right,
in my mind.
Yeah, but the data you showed do not factor in population growth or shrinkage. They're just unemployment and employment
Yes,
average. Yeah, estimated. All right, thank you.
The U3, yeah, that's the one we use. There's 6 of them, various ones, but yeah, that's the U3 is what we use for our publications.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cross,
Mike?
and thank you, Lynn, for addressing our questions. We appreciate that. Councillor McElroy also had a question.
Yeah. I'm curious at looking what this picture looks like when you remove the city of Portland from the statistics. Does it paint a lot rosier picture? I mean, they've got one of the largest vacancy rates in the country for a metro. I think they are still the highest vacancy rate, and businesses are leaving the city of Portland and taking jobs with them because it's not a very business-friendly environment. I think that with it being such a high population center for the state of Oregon, it's going to very heavily skew the outlook when you include their information in statewide unemployment numbers. It may not paint the same picture for the areas outside of the Portland metro area, and it's definitely a big downer on the state number. So how, when the city of Portland is removed from those numbers, does it paint the same exact picture, or are they having an overwhelming impact on the like the overall look of the state employment conditions. When you include that city in there, does it look better if you pull the city of Portland out?
Well, we, okay, so we're looking at Oregon, but I also showed you what the Tri-County looked like too, or in the
Yeah.
Portland MSA. But we have like I had said, we have unemployment statistics and CES, current employment statistics, but the Laos data is estimated for down to the city level. So
Do
we
you have
have,
a website where we can do research when
Yeah.
we're interested in looking at?
yes, I would love to share that with you.
That
Yes,
would
we
be
have a
great.
lot of
We
that
don't need to write this
information.
in, but if maybe you could send it over to John and maybe John could share it with us.
Yeah.
Any of the websites you use for pulling that data, I would love access to those if it's open, if they're open to the
I
public.
could send you the links, but keep in mind, they're gonna be a couple months, behind
Yes,
until
ma'am.
things get caught up, but
Thank
yeah.
you for all your help today. I'm really enjoying the presentation, Lynn. Thank you for answering my question.
Yes, but we also have this map that I haven't included in this presentation, but it's the map of Oregon, all the counties, and it's by color, about, the unemployment ranges, and there's a few Eastern Oregon counties that really have a very low unemployment rate, lately. But then there's a few counties that have had a real high unemployment rate. So it varies across the state. quite a
Elections
bit.
have consequences.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Commissioner Moore has a question.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair Carpenter. Hello, Lynn. Good to see you
Hi.
again.
Hi.
A quick question for you. We, as the Economic Development Commission and the city, have put some really great efforts into connecting youth in Estacada, specifically with our industrial park businesses, looking to expand that citywide. But I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity here to capture some baseline data about youth employment in the city of Estacada, and then we'd have that baseline to be able to track the connections that we're making over the next few years. Is that something, A, that the commission would be interested in? And then B, is that even something that I guess I should flip those. Is it something we can do? And B, would the commission be interested in it? Thank you.
Yes, I would have to find out where, if numbers like that, like you're talking about, especially can be broken down by age group.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to do my research on that
Well,
one.
and before you do that, I guess to the chair and to the commission, would that be something of interest?
From my
As an outcome.
perspective, absolutely. Any data that we can have that points or guides the institutions who are working with the youth and trying to create those pathways, I think would be beneficial for us. Absolutely.
Okay.
I would agree. The other thing about these data, of course, is that our charge is to increase the economic development of Estacada. And Estacada, statisticians don't like small, insignificant numbers. And unfortunately, Estacada is a small, insignificant number compared to the overall Portland MSA. And so, as interesting as these data are, how do they affect Estacada, which is our charge? And I think that if you were able to pull out how a small portion of the data were influenced by the work we're doing, it could be a case study where you could say, here's what Estacada did. Could you apply it to other small areas? Because a huge increase in employment data for youth coming out of education is a very, very powerful study.
Mhm. That would take looking into, definitely.
Sure.
I'd have
Really good
to-
effort. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And before Lynn, you proceed forward, I just Commissioner Stahl, you're off mute, and so I wanted to make sure I didn't if you were planning to jump in there if you had a question.
No, I'm just sucking this all in. It's all just riveting stuff. So
Okay.
I'm just gonna sit here and listen and take it all in.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lynn. You're doing great. Keep on going.
Okay, okay. So we're looking at now, this is the state as a whole. And these are our projections. And just really briefly, until our new projections come out, this is what we're using. And Oregon's total employment is projected to grow from 2.2 million jobs to 2.4 million between 2023 and 2033. And this is an increase of 170,000 jobs. But let me tell you, these are new jobs. These are jobs that weren't created before. These are newly created jobs. And that's important to understand that when we're looking at our projections. And this reflects a growth rate of 8% this year, which is relatively a little lower than our last projections. But in addition to these jobs, from growth, creating new jobs, many more job openings are expected to be due to replace workers who leave their occupations, either retiring or finding new jobs, or new occupations. So this will be 248,000 job openings. Will also be created or available, that's a better word, will be available to replace workers who retire, leave the labor force for other reasons, or make a major occupational change. Together, new jobs, replacement jobs, will have 265,000 new and replacement jobs. But 9 out of 10 of these job openings will be due to job replacement, not new jobs, but replacement openings.
Interesting. Lynn, Commissioner Sale has a quick question.
Okay.
So you'd mentioned that the 8% growth was this year. Is that 8% growth this year? Or is that 8% growth between 2023 and 2033?
Yeah, the 10-year.
Okay, thank you.
10-year. Yeah, which we're in 25 now, but yeah. So that's why I'm telling you, just a few more months and we'll have our new updated projections. So the jobs that healthcare and social assistance is projected to add the largest number of jobs. And among the detailed industries with 1,000 jobs or higher, healthcare and social assistance accounts for 6 of the 20 fastest growing industries. 10 of the 20 fastest growing occupations in Oregon are heavily concentrated in healthcare and social assistance. So that is kind of the driver right now. So next slide, please. So now we're back looking at the Portland Tri-County area, and which is Portland, Clackamas, and Multnomah County. So this is looking just at new jobs. So these are what we expect to happen during the next 10 years. The total of 94,600 new jobs. And they are the 5 broad industries, which I've outlined there, are expected to add nearly 2/3 of these new jobs. Healthcare and social assistance is up front. Professional, scientific, and technical services is second. Accommodation and food services, construction, and manufacturing, which I love to see that they do have, growth, new job growth, or that is at least what is expected. Next slide. But then, now we're looking at that same slide, only we've added replacement openings, and you can see how that dwindles in comparison, the number of new jobs versus replacement openings. So the total number that we have, a total number of job openings then with replacement openings, we expect 1,277,500 job openings when we combine both the new and replacement openings. And the same, pretty much the same, except we have healthcare up front, but we have accommodation and food services, then retail, trade, and manufacturing as the 4 broad industries that are expected to add the majority, not new growth, but total growth majority of replacement openings.
Thank you, Lynn. Love that bar graph and that data which comes up with a lot of different questions. Commissioner McElroy, did you have a question or comment?
Just quick, so does that mean that only like over that 10-year period, this is still relating to the 10-year 8%,
Yes.
so only 0.8% over 10 years there's expected growth in employment due to like actually creating jobs, not people retiring?
Creating new jobs that weren't there
Creating
before.
point, would that just amount, it's basically 1/10 of it, right? So they're saying
Yeah.
over 10 years they're gonna have less than 1% of growth due to what's happening in the market to create new jobs, and the rest is just people that are gonna be retiring and need to be replaced. That's
Yeah, well, it says like the majority of the job growth, 93% of the job openings, not talking about growth, not talking just openings, whether they're new or whether they're replacement. But 95% of these job openings will be due to replacement.
gotcha.
And 7% will be around 7% will be due to newly created jobs.
And is that
But-
for 7% of the 8%? The 8%
Okay.
is the growth for the next 10 years. I just want to make sure I'm reading that right. It's
No, that can't, no, the 8% is total jobs.
gotcha.
8%.
And 93% are replacement jobs, right?
Yeah,
93%
93%.
of the 8% is replacement jobs. Maybe I'm not asking it right.
Oh, I don't know. I just,
Yeah, I understand your question, and I do think you're saying it right based on how I'm interpreting as well. So, Lynn, 2 or 3 slides ago, you had said from 2023 to 2033, we'd see an expected 8% job growth, which was lower than what was originally expected. And then, as you showed the 2 predecessing slides, it looks like of that 8% growth that's being projected, 92.6 of those things are categorized as replacement, which would mean 7.4% is true, honest, brand new, never been filled before positions.
Sure.
let me correct myself because when I first started talking about the projected growth, an increase of 170,000 jobs, these were the new jobs. This is what I started out with. These were the new jobs. And this reflects a growth rate of new jobs at 8%. So yes, the growth rate of new jobs was 8%. But then we add the replacement. So we usually start off talking about new jobs and newly created jobs and what we expect that to look like, which again is very confusing, I think. But yeah, it can be very confusing because we have this dynamic situation that is going on all the time. And it's, it seems like it should be simple, but it really isn't. And yeah, and there's a lot of other things that play into this, and I don't totally understand it, but there's a lot to this.
Thank you. Did Commissioner McElroy, did that clarify?
We're good. Yeah. Thank you very much, Lynn. Appreciate it.
Okay.
And
Sorry,
then
I confused you.
No, you're all good. Commissioner Stahl first, and then Commissioner Cross.
Well, I look at the data here, and all I'm really seeing is, especially in your replacement openings and even with opening growth, is the amount of brain drain you have, if you understand the term brain drain, is that experienced workers, and what areas you need to focus on educational opportunities across trades and stuff like things like that, because you're just losing very experienced workers. They're going out the door, and the new ones don't have that experience, And so what they're really saying is that you're going to have a larger group of unskilled, experienced workers coming forward, as that curve is going to be back and forth, but you're going to have a lot of issues with that. That's all I got.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Looks expensive to me too. I
Yeah,
think
it's expensive.
Yep.
And I
Uh,
didn't mention, I guess I could have mentioned that our last spring survey, it showed that more, I don't know how exactly what percentage more, but more of the respondents, the employers, were requiring more experience. So yeah, it kind of went down a little bit, you know, after the recession, and now the last few surveys we see a little higher percentage ticking up that are requiring experience. They want a certain amount of experience to in their job openings.
Well, don't you find that the numbers you correlated back before when it said they're having a harder time finding the experience they're looking for because that experience doesn't exist. And that's the truth of it. It just doesn't exist. They want it, but they have to, you know, think the box through here, you know, it's not out there. If it's not
Eric,
coming.
that's not a problem for you, right? You got experience just coming in
Well,
through the
but
doors.
the reason we can ask for experience is because the state that we're in,
Sure.
with its business climate, is actually creating more available people. So we are having less of a hard time finding people. And so we can ask for more experience. It's not a good thing. It's because the decline of employment and industry in the state as a whole, because of the state's decision, created this pool that we can draw from. It's a sad thing, but that's why we can ask for more, is because we've created a pool of people that should have already been employed.
Mm.
But 58%, like the last survey said, 58% said they're having difficulty finding workers.
That's what I
Oh,
was
yeah,
thinking.
but that says 58% having difficulty finding. But then when we go back before, we list the growth of, say, manufacturing as needing 9,000 jobs. But then the next slide says that's the category that can't find those jobs.
Yeah.
And then we talk about requiring more skill. I think those things all play together. The things that are actually affecting them are things that are more short term in our economy. So these numbers, they span across a wide range, but we'll see these things happen based on what happens in layoffs, business closing, businesses leaving on a week to week basis that create these things that really aren't following the data.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, it's a more of an educational opportunity if you look at it, you know, and where you need to focus your educational thrust, you know, in the sectors like manufacturing or skilled trades, like something we just did, you know, showing the young people those jobs are out there. This is what those jobs look like. There's the possibilities because they're going to be backfilling. They're going to be
Yeah.
backfilling the population. And so, you know, we're on the right track here. We just, you know, as education moves on, especially with Ryan's uh, job, you know, he's looking at this data saying, okay, how am I going to take my high school students and what am I going to tell them? They're going to need to learn this stuff because this is where the jobs are going to be, you know.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I'll fully, transparently, vulnerably admit we have a long way to go
Oh, sure.
to get where we need to get to support that. Commissioner Cross?
We're
Yeah,
running
quick
out of
question.
time.
Yeah. These data are based on where people work, not where they live, right? So for example, hypothetical scenario, Portland has 100 jobs available, Estacada has 100 jobs available. Everyone from Estacada fills those 100 jobs in Portland. It would look like Portland was fully employed and Estacada was fully unemployed, according to how this is presented. Is that correct?
Well, that's depending what statistics you look at. The CES and the QCW, covered employment, looks at business establishments where
Right, but I mean the
there's
data you're
established-
presenting today base it on where the person works.
Yes,
Yes.
where the
Okay.
job, yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for
Yeah.
the clarification.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Lynn, keep on
We're
trucking.
running out of time, aren't
Yeah.
we? Am I over? Way over?
That's okay.
You're
We'll-
doing good.
okay.
We're going to get into some of the Estacada data here, so
Okay,
that'll
yeah.
help them
A
too.
few
So thank
slides
you,
on
Lynn.
this. Few slides on Estacada. Okay, so next slide, please. It should be our occupational projections. I'll just quickly go over the occupational projections. And let's see, is this the right one? Yes, it is. This is for the Portland Tri-County area. And it kind of looks at here, the same thing is happening here with, you know, growth, which is the dark blue, versus replacement. So, you know, like in office admin support and sales and related, like in the middle, there's hardly any growth openings. Almost all of that growth, all of those openings are due to replacement openings. And so they make up about the replacement here, almost 93%, pretty close to what the state was in the Tri-County area. And the service occupations, it's that's how it's broken down, but it's huge. It includes our services at the very top here, service occupations, protective services, food preparation and serving, building and grounds cleaning and maintenance, personal care and service, to just name a few. So that's a very large group that is contained in our service occupations. And then the next is professional and related occupations. That's another broad one. It includes like computer and mathematical, architectural and engineering, physical and social science, community and social service, legal, education, arts, design, entertainment. So that's another really, really large occupational group. Next slide, please. I think we're going to be getting into Estacada now. Just a few slides. This came from my, I had updated my Quick Facts report. I do these reports. I try to keep them updated, but kind of fall down the job sometimes for the major cities in Clackamas County. And someone had asked me for an update about a year ago. So the beginning of the year, I think, I had updated some of this and I didn't capitalize Estacada. Oh my goodness. Oh well. So I just updated, I had some time to update a couple of the graphs in my Quick Facts report, and that's where this information comes from. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is looking at employment. This is 2024. This comes from our GIS analysts who downloads all this data, but it's always a year late. So we don't have the 2025 data. We won't have it until 2026 for cities. Geographies less than at the county level. So this is looking at in your city, the covered employment and payroll data. In 2024, this is an annual average. You had 219 firms, average employment 1,888. And when I say average, that is the average over the 12 months. With a total payroll of over $113.5 million. So this does not look at, it's not sorted by the number employed. It's just sorted by NAICS industry. And you can see where, just kind of look at each industry and see what the number of establishments are. I should have said establishments. It's not firms, establishments, which means pretty much the same. And I also included your government, your local government, which is a huge employer, had 320 employees in local government in 10 different establishments. A lot of these were schools. And state government was quite a bit smaller, and you had 2 establishments that were federal government establishments at 73 employees. Next slide, please. And this kind of breaks it down by the largest employment numbers. So these same industries, and it's broken, and I kind of sorted it by the highest employment to the lowest employment numbers for 2024. So 4 of the largest broad sector industries in Estacada made up over 1/2, about 59%, of covered employment during 2024. Manufacturing was out front with 387 jobs, local government 320 jobs, private education and healthcare at 225, and retail trade at 188. So from 2023 to 2024, the same data a year ago, the city has gained a net total, because it's lost some too, some employers, but the net gain has been 2 employers, as far as I can ascertain, and has added a total of 118 net jobs. So I say net, it's losses plus gains equals the net jobs. The majority of the job gains was in healthcare and social assistance, 125, management of companies and administrative support, 81, and manufacturing at 53. And that is the difference between 23 and 24. Next slide, please. So this looks at size of firm data. And was asked to put this slide in, and it's in my quick facts report too. So size of firm, I do this a little differently than we do at the county level. I take all employers, I take all government and private industry and put it all together and then sort it by size of firm. And the different categories are 0 employment, which I will explain. And then 1 to 4 employees, that's the size of that firm, or 5 to 9 employees, 10 to 19 employees, 20 to 49 employees, and 50 or more employees. There's higher categories, but this Estacada didn't have, that large of employment. So I stopped at the 50 or more employment. So you can see that nearly 9 out of 10 employers in Estacada had less than 20 employees in 2024. So mostly small employers. And they made up 89% of all employer businesses during 24. Mid-sized businesses with 20 to 49 employers provided 449 jobs, or 38% of the jobs, and consisted of 14 employers. The large employers with 50 or more employees provided 569 jobs, or 30% of the jobs, of all jobs, so almost 1/3 of all jobs, and there's only 9 of them. There's only 9 employers that are providing almost 1/3 of the jobs in the city. Okay, so we just have a couple more slides left talking about population. Next slide, please. So this is looking at the latest data from the Oregon Office of Economic Analysis. They get their population statistics from the Population Research Center. So is the state as a whole. It is they expected Oregon's population growth to really slow. The total growth, it's growing slower because of 2 factors. The main factor is it's due to our deaths are outnumbering our births. Natural increase, that's called. And that is, we are losing population that way, total population that way. And so that means that Oregon's entire population from that line from 2025 onward, or to the right, will come from will need to come from net migration if we want to increase our population. So according to the Office of Economic Analysis and the Population Research Center, Oregon's population is expected to grow by an average of 0.4% through 2035. So that's some growth, but it's relatively slow. Now, when we look at Estacada, we have a little bit different story. Next slide, please. So this is looking at the latest population data that we have for the city of Estacada. And it's Estacada's current population in 2024 was 5,980 residents. And this is from the Population Research Center. From 1990 to 2024, the city's population grew by almost 4,000 residents, or by 197%, with an annual average growth rate of 3.0. So it really has taken a steep turn. And that line is getting near, it's pretty steep. So since the current population, 5,980, has grown by, since 2020. That's what I wanted to look at. So since 2020, the population is increased by 1,547 residents, or by 35%. That is a really high population, growth in population. And that is just, for 4 or so years. So is anybody surprised about how fast your population's growing?
You could just repeat that to PSU every time they try to discount our numbers.
I would
So-
say
It's
you
growing.
ain't seen nothing yet. I think when 25 is tacked on, it's going to be even more of a steep curve.
Mm,
And to not be alarmed when you drive by
Interesting.
the school district and there's students just learning underneath the base of a tree because we don't have room.
Really?
Wow. But what, I'm just curious, what have you guys done with housing then? How are you keeping up with housing?
Oh, you open the can of worms now.
Oh, well, maybe it's none of my business.
Yeah, there's lots of developments occurring in our community, both single family and multifamily. And so I'd say the housing part we're keeping up with just nicely. It's the commercial side of things that we're not keeping up with, and that's one of the charges of this commission, is to innovatively think of ways that we can propel different opportunities. And my takeaway, because do you have other, because we do need to kind of transition into some other stuff, unless you have some following slides.
Just one.
Or go for it then. Yep.
Okay. So the last slide, next slide, please, just shows a breakout by age distribution. This is a very healthy age distribution in your city, I think. The most current age group estimates show that 17%, or 860 of Estacada's population, are 65 years and older, and nearly 1/4, or a little over 1,000, are less than 20 years old. So that's adding up the 0 to 4 to 10 to 19. The city also has a very good size working age population. That's usually estimated at between 20 and 64 years of age. And it makes up over half of your population, almost 59% of your population, or 2,922 residents, at least in 2024. So you have a really good size working age population in your city. And that is the end here. Next slide. And so please let me know what I can provide, the links I can provide you, the information. I would be more than happy to send you what you need. So yeah,
Awesome.
that's great.
Lynn, thank you very much. I see Commissioner Sale has a closing question. Go ahead, Commissioner Sale.
Would it be fair when we say that Estacada has 2,922 residents are working age, in order to find out how many are actually seeking work, would that be fair to say it's the population of 59? No, that wouldn't be it. So what percentage of that working age is actually actively seeking employment or employable? Does that go back to that overall number?
It goes back to the labor force, and we don't have that data because that's our Laos statistics, the local area unemployment statistics, which we don't have the data for the last 2 months now.
What about before that?
But that would show, yes, you can go in and you can look to
Okay.
see, you know, what the labor force is in Estacada, what the unemployed are, and what the employed number. But that measures, though, just keep in mind, it measures by place of residence. So these people could be working anywhere, but they live in Estacada.
Okay.
And Lynn, before we let you go, one other clarifying question I'd like to ask, as I try to process these numbers and then play a leadership role and how best to problem solve by utilizing these numbers. When you define Estacada, is that just city limits? Is it zip code? What constitutes Estacada?
The way I did for this analysis was city limits.
Okay,
can-
thank you.
But you can do by zip code too. I provide Lake Oswego data for someone that just wants me to use 2 zip codes. They don't want city limits. They want the 2 zip codes. So I'm able to do it that way too.
Okay, thank you very much, Lynn. What a tremendous presentation. I hope that the feedback you take away was our numerous questions should tell you this
Oh,
was
I
a
love
very engaging presentation. And so we just thank you for the time, and we hope that you'll come back again when some new numbers come out, and so that we can also measure our progress as we try to solve some of these problems that these very numbers present. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I love your engagement. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you,
Thank
Lynn.
you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Lynn.
And as Mads or John throws up the agenda again, I just want to share, one major takeaway that I took from that presentation is I tried to do rough math. She said in Estacada there was a total currently of 1,888 jobs. I rounded up the city limits population to 6,000 from 5,980 or whatever. That means that we only have workspace currently for roughly 31% of just the city's population. And if you use the whole school district, which is 750 square miles, and that would be Springwater, Eagle Creek, George, the whole, what I would consider to be Estacada at large, which is roughly 17,000 people, we only have enough jobs to employ 11% of the people who live in our area. And so that's a staggering takeaway for me. Any other comments on that?
Well, when we looked at the data beforehand, so far as the gross overlook of what was going on here, that 94 or 95% of the people work outside of Estacada and its area. So basically that number is actually smaller than that,
Well, yeah, and there's a caveat to my number two, which was rough. We know that there are people of age who are retired or people who are unable to work. But just, in our last commission meeting, we talked about the need, really to try to keep Estacada money in Estacada. And this is a great data point to share that we don't even have enough capacity to handle half of the people who live here to be able to work here, be employed here, and keep their money here. And I just thought that was my interesting takeaway, as we try to look at new innovative strategies to support how we can, capture the people that we already have here.
Well,
Yeah.
with you're probably looking iterations ahead of the urban growth boundary. And when we fill this urban growth boundary, which won't take us all that long at the rate we're going, the urban growth boundary needs to be filled up with jobs, manufacturing, whatever jobs we can get in here,
Yep.
because I think we have enough so far habitat for the residents in the area.
Yeah.
And going forward, I think we need to be growth in jobs versus growth in population, so we can keep that money here,
Yep. That's exactly right.
If part of our charge is to keep the money here,
Yeah.
these data and your revelation there, Ryan, is a kind of you should not be surprised that the money's leaving, right? So I guess the next thing would be to consider what's the most inexpensive way that we could create facilities within our core skill area that we could keep jobs. And because these data reveal that manufacturing is huge, it further supports the line of thinking to create the hub, the industrial hub, to create more manufacturing jobs, because the relative cost of doing that and creating those facilities is not the most expensive thing that we could create. So by creating more of those facilities, we could capture more of the workforce, expand our 11%, therefore keep more of the money in Estacada, because at the moment, the only work area is quite a distance from Estacada, Sandy, Gresham, Portland, etc., Clackamas, and they're not going to want to spend the money in Estacada and keep it in Estacada if their workplace is relatively quite far away. So it's interesting data, but it's scary data as well, and it charges us to act, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I apologize, everybody. I have to jump in there. I have to roll into another meeting here at 12:30. I apologize for that, but thank you for having me.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you, Commissioner McElroy. Commissioner Gersh, it looked like you were about to say something or participate.
Well, it's one of those things that's really difficult to bring into the conversation, but I was thinking about projections out to 2033, and that those projections cannot capture the changes that are coming our way from AI. And I don't know how we engage in a conversation about that either, but it is something to think about.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that, and that's going to play a heavy factor on the workforce and where folks go next too. Although I think volunteering Estacada to be a major data hub, like some of the other communities, to put a 1 million square foot warehouse to house that AI capability, I think is a good idea, even though that doesn't increase the workforce either. But I just think there's a lot of opportunities for us to really try to market and cord the innovative technology spaces, and how we can get something like that to come to Estacada would be of great benefit to us, particularly since we have the power in our dams to be able to support some of the energy grids that those types of things need. And so, no, I'm 100% with you on that. And just to note, I think Taco Bell and McDonald's typically employ between 20 and 30 people per restaurant too. So I'm just going to make a quick pitch for more fast food and retail into our community as well.
We need another cardiologist if you do that, but that's
yeah, well, see, we're just, and they said healthcare is a big one, so that's how we promote that process. So, anyways, okay. In respect of everybody's time, we're going to keep moving through the agenda, but I do think this presentation plays at the crux of really what our charge is in trying to support the city council, as well as to support our local business partners in a way that we can try to, capture additional job space, commercial space, etc., to be able to support the needs of a growing community. So thank you for that. And Mr. Lagarza, I just want to say thank you for bringing this presentation forward to us. That's a job well done. So thank you so much. Okay, Career Day report out. I know a lot of you participated in that, and I have to apologize for my absence on that day. The evening before, we had a very catastrophic student death inside our student body. And so I had to abandon ship and really support our crisis response, our counselors, and kind of work through some extremely tragic things. So I regret that I wasn't able to be there, but I know that from the school district's team and perspective, they were extremely ecstatic about the experience, and we're just really pleased with the overall event. So I did want to thank the commission and every business who was a part of that, who was able to play an inspiring role to just expose our students to what life could be like if they stayed here in Estacada and had a pathway to a high wage, high demand job. I think the more kids can see themselves doing these things with their own eyes, only makes that dream more realistic to them. And so I just wanted to thank the commission, but because I wasn't there, I'd love to hear from the commission how that experience went.
I'll jump in here quickly. I thought it was a greatly run. Your staff, Commissioner Carpenter, was excellent. The job we did across the board was very good, well received. I think the kids were pretty focused. I was more than pleased. I thought it was job well done all across the board, and it was executed in a very good manner. So
Yeah.
I was at the Semper Timber site, and I was really upbeat and encouraged by the engagement I saw from those young people. They were presented with some pretty enticing opportunities for apprenticeships and potential jobs that are well paying. And I think some of those kids were excited and interested and engaged in that. So I'd like to see us do it again. Should be an annual event.
Hear, hear.
I think 3 things stood out. First is I was at Eric's business, and the culture of that business is incredible. The way that people work together. I know how hard it is to build a business, but you can end up with all sorts of factions and stuff. What Eric's done there is really incredible. So, I mean, congratulations to Eric. The one thing I felt from meeting all the students I did was there was a sense of amazement. It was like, we can do that here in our little city. There was that kind of almost reframing their own perspective for their future, because we can provide that right here. And just again, the opportunity local kind of shifts the attitude. It's not just a backwater that happens to be on the edge of the national forest. It's like a real sense of, wow, I've got to rethink what I'm doing after school because the opportunities I want are right here. It's really good.
I also just want to chime in on the level of sophistication I saw from many of the students. I mean, I'm talking eye contact, walk up, hi, I'm Johnny. Very nice to meet you. Thank you for having us here today. Saw more of those than I even anticipated. You know, I'm around teenagers a lot, and you just don't see that every day. So I just wanted to call like all their parents and say how proud I was as a parent myself to watch them walk into that space. You know, another piece that I heard from a student just in walking past, he said, you know, I could support my whole family. Like that, I took that to heart, because for them to actually internalize that and know what this could mean for their extended family at 16 years old, that was very powerful. So thank you to all of the employers. I thought the flow was really good. Is there things that we could improve on? Absolutely. But I think, Ryan, first and foremost, I'm so sorry to hear of the tragedy that happened. Your staff, they acknowledged it, but they also kept it at an appropriate level. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but you know, for the environment we were in, given the tragedy that the students were hearing about. So anyway, I'm so sorry for the loss, but kudos to the team and to the businesses, because I think we pulled a really cool thing off.
Yeah. And in all honesty and just vulnerability, for that event to happen on that specific day almost provided a little bit of extra therapy for the students to be able to just, you know, go and see something else and have their minds on something else was actually a nice dose of medicine for our student body. But I really appreciate your comments on that. It was a very tough deal. Yep. Commissioner Sale?
Yeah, I think what we saw from people coming through is that I think people could understand a place where they could actually enter and learn and grow in a safe space that was familiar, is not going off to an unknown or going to a college and hoping you picked right and those kinds of things. It was a local, place to enter and to learn, regardless of what your interests were. And I think people just haven't thought about that, of how some different paths are to where you find your sweet spot. You can create that in real time and learn that on a daily basis to decide what you like and what you want to do, and end up being exactly where you want to be. I think sometimes in talking about this with future opportunities for young people, even talking about how we grow employment in our city, we sometimes look, too far out and try to create something out in the future and make it something. We don't really see how we could have just poured fuel into the thing right in front of us. And if we gain success in the things that are way out there in the future, but we ignore the ones in front of us, then we feel a little bit foolish by the efforts that we've spent somewhat frivolously. So I'm not sure how to meld that back with a government entity, but for us as a company, we have lots of opportunities. We don't have all the capital that a government has or that a publicly traded sector has. We have to, fight things like regulation. This past couple of years has been extremely heavy. And so our efforts and our time is spent on those things. So there are ways to remove boundaries that might spur on what we already have. And just sometimes looking for those things.
Yeah. No, that's very well said, and I really appreciate your comments about looking too far in the future, because oftentimes the school district falls in that trap of trying to be or be told, what the future looks like and where we need to put our dollars, emphasis, and that kind of stuff. And so just this ability really made it allowed our students to be able to see what's right in front of their very eyes, and some things that can lead right to that. I would say where the school district needs to improve, as I said to Commissioner Stahl in a comment earlier, is now that we've kind of revamped a partnership and a pathway, what specific skills can we be doing in some of these programs so that we can check some of those expertise boxes, as we prepare them for the workforce. And that's a deeper conversation, but I just wanted to acknowledge that this is where the school district falls short in preparing people to fill those pathways.
One other thing I saw too is that I think depending on the personality of a person, they're pretty suited for certain different kinds of things. And I think stepping into our environment here was like, hey, you have to make decisions. You have to make them quickly. You have to make them well. You have to be responsible for yourself. And there's nobody holding back your progression other than you. And so I think that, coupled with what the school's trying to teach and that input, or even having some people that are kind of like messing around and somebody just calls them out, tells them to knock it off, or you see these things around and that this demands behavior, and you're going to have a lot of people that are going to hold you accountable and help build you and grow you. I think having that interaction from the outside on the school, on the kids that you're trying to teach on the inside, it reinforces some of these realities. It's not just a isolated school event where somebody's just not paying attention and dinking around. When you bring in some things from outside, it's like, what are you doing? Like, knock it off. And so that's a different level, I think, of grabbing somebody's attention for what reality is.
Yeah. Nope, I like that. Well, it's great to see that it was a first year success with opportunities for improvement. You can count on the school district support should the commission choose to want to do this again next year. I think that was a real big win. It was a win-win situation for all involved, and it will only get better as the tradition continues. And so I'm extremely excited about that. I was gonna say, Mr. Lagarza, our video communication team and our communication team was also on site, and they shot and made a great kind of highlight video of that as well. And so I'll share with you, Mr. Lagarza, the link so that you can send it to the entire commission. Commissioner Sale was a superstar in that video, walking kids around and showing them things. And so I think it's just something that we can all be proud of, as kind of a finished product of that day. And we have shared that with our parents as well as shared that with the community at large. And so, you know, that's a win that should be shared and celebrated. Commissioner Moore? You're still on mute.
Sorry about that. Thank you very much. I just wanted to take 2 seconds to publicly acknowledge Mr. Lagarza for all of the background work that was done leading up to the event, working with the employers, the timing, the transportation, the food, all of the logistics that go into this is one thing. You know, I know we did this as a committee, but there's always somebody who's behind the scenes making sure it goes off smooth. So I just want to publicly take a minute to thank you, John, for all that you did that we may not even know about. So anyway, great job, team.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Chair Carpenter. And it was just, I really am just so excited, you know, hearing that I'd love to do a second one. We learned a lot from the first one, but you know, I'm glad, you know, in hindsight's always 2020, that we only had about 130, 140 kids, because I think we were close to 300 on that day, right? So logistically, you know, testing it out was a great test run for us, and I'm just excited to, you know, just in tears over here listening to you guys coming together and the ideas you're talking about and the data that we're seeing, you know, and the opportunities to build these career programs at the school district and be able to feed them into our industrial park. And that kind of just segues into the, you know, your career video. Those are things when companies are looking for Estacada and opportunities to grow and come here. These are great stories that people want to hear and see, you know. So I'm just really happy to be part of it. So thank you with that.
And I do want to state too, next year you will have 300 people as expected, but because of the tragedy that occurred, we had a lot of students not come to school on that day, and we just had some students who chose not to go because of the circumstances. But on a normal circumstance, we're going to flood that thing. That's for sure. So, yep, absolutely. Mr. Lagarza, your reward for this great work is to talk to us about the University of Oregon, SCYP.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair Carpenter. And just segues into, so the city is contracted with the University of Oregon with their business program under the Sustainable Cities Year Partner program there. And we're going to have a group of students in the graduate program coming out, does the public relations. And we're working on a public relations campaign strategy around the industrial park. And they will be visiting here on November 5th from 11 to 3 o'clock. So we're going to start at the city, introduce them to the city staff, quick tour of the downtown area. Want to invite anyone, if Chair Carpenter or anyone from the commission can come out and be there from 12 to 1, that would be great. We'll have lunch in there. And then we'd like to take them out to a couple of the businesses, to Eric, and if you're able to have someone there, it would be great. But, you know, really thinking about how we talked about around, you know, campaigning and promoting out the industrial campus and the connection to Estacada, then be able to track an OEM. So we've been working with them. I'm excited about it. I think we're going to get, it's going to be a component of the strategic final report that we will put together. We're also going to have a couple more of their marketing graduate programs classes that will come out and be meeting with companies in ways that we can promote Estacada as a whole and for the industrial manufacturing. And just, you know, all of this data that we're collecting is good information to be able to promote, you know, having people there to work for employers and be able to attract employers, and how that whole story comes together there. So we'll be happy to have, if you're available to come, I'll send out the information here too on a separate email there.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you for that update, and love having people come into our community to help us with our charge here. Our final piece of our agenda today is commissioner comments. I've spoken a lot, so I'm gonna not comment, but anybody else have any commissioner comments?
I guess the one comment that I have is that one, I think, substantial thing that came out of Career Day for me was connecting with a fellow named Austin Ernesti, who's CEO of a local NGO called Trajectory that's trying to engage young people in jobs in forestry. And Austin is really a thoughtful person on this question and has given a lot of study to the forestry programs that are currently out there in the high schools around Oregon. And he's also well connected with folks in the forestry industry. So I asked Austin if he would put together just a little white paper about what would it look like to create a forestry program at Estacada High School, and he's done that. We haven't yet had the opportunity to sit down with Ryan and have a conversation about that with him and his staff, but we're really looking forward to it, and I thought that was a really exciting piece to come out of that day.
I think one of the things too interesting, Jeff, that if you look at the employment data on the, towards the end, and we'll send these slides out that Lynn had, when you look at the forestry and the opportunity to be able to grow into the forestry program, there really shows a huge gap there, right? So thinking about how that's going to evolve, I think from the high school, Ryan, from agriculture, maybe adding forestry and ag, there's an opportunity, I think, that we have to think about, like, how does the forestry grow in the future around ag and forestry? So that could be a great opportunity there. But the data is showing that we're going to be lacking career people coming out with training in forestry areas. So fascinating data there. So anyway, thank you.
One quick additional comment. There's just been some research on the need for the demand for forestry jobs, and it is annually in excess of 3,500 across Oregon. And based on what we're hearing from local employers in the forestry community, there is a very significant demand for young people to get into the field.
I am just gonna pop in here briefly to give you a heads up. We do have a city staff meeting at 1 p.m. So just as a heads up.
Thank you. If we make it to 1 p.m., you should just cut us off. But I think we're wrapping up soon. Commissioner Sale, though, I think you were going to comment, and thank you, Commissioner Gershon. The school district is 100% all in on working through this. Yep.
Yeah, I was curious on the slides that she used. Are those available?
The deck.
Yes, we'll send out the slide deck to you.
Okay.
Yep, happy to. And we're happy to bring her back, Lynn back another 6 months there. But, and it really shows again on the manufacturing, and I'll stop talking here, Ryan, but it really shows opportunity to build with the high school around, manufacturing program there too. So with the replacement, and I'm just excited about it. So thank you.
I think there's a challenge to take that data that's there and have somebody that's Estacada driven, using the data that's available and trying to gather from it useful information for our micro part of the state so that we can work well on it.
Yeah. We are a rounding error for the data that Lynn used, and we need to find out how to highlight Estacada. You don't want to go for the filibuster and go for the 1 p.m. talk through, Ryan. We could read some Shakespeare or something.
I could easily do that. This superintendent can talk about nothing for an hour, so that's not a problem. But in respect of that, Commissioner Cross or Stahl or Moore, do you guys have any comments? I want to make sure everyone gets an opportunity.
One last comment from me, and then I'll sit silent. I was curious, do we have an active asset map so far as businesses in the Estacada general area, not Estacada itself city-wise, but general area, an asset map of any employers or businesses or anything similar to that? Do we have that? I don't know.
Other than like the zoning maps, but we could put together a map that would have something like that. That's for sure.
I know the Downtown Estacada Commission did put together something with all the businesses in downtown specifically, but I don't know if there's something for Estacada at large.
Yeah, I thought that would be of value if we're trying to get employers to come here, what's around us. they want to know those sort of things, you know. They want to know Eric Sale is there, you know. I could use Eric Sale, you know, and his
Yeah.
business, you know, right? Whoever else is out there.
Totally. Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Moore, do you have anything? Okay, I can't see you, so
Nope,
maybe
I'm
I'll-
good. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Great meeting.
Perfect. Yeah, it was a great meeting, and I just want to close with everyone just to express that I've deeply appreciated the chemistry we're building, the collegiality we're building, and I really think that this commission is truly gaining authentic momentum. And again, I want to thank John for your guidance in that process. And the thing I want to close with, which shouldn't be expanded on at this point, but really just for us to kind of think about a little bit is, you know, when we started this kind of together as a team, there was a whole lot we didn't know about what this looks like. And now that we've heard about hotels, and now that we've heard about tourism, and now that we've heard about unemployment and various other things, John, I wonder if in the next 6 months or so, if some type of a retreat or workshop locally, not anything that's intrusive, but now that we're starting to become a sponge of identifying where our weaknesses are and what opportunities exist, if it wouldn't be a terrible investment of our time to determine, so now what do we want to do with that from a leadership perspective inside of the charge, of the capacity of the charge that we have. And so I just feel now like as we continue to listen to things, it's going to come a time where it's time for us to do something. And I'd love to just be able to find time for us for a couple of hours to get together and look at all of the stuff that we've listened to most recently and determine what would be our 1, 2, or 3 best strategies as a team to kind of pursue growth and progress forward to meet the needs of the charge of this committee. So that's just my conclusion on that. And I will adjourn this meeting, Mads, at 12:52. So please let city staff know that we are punctual in our time as we work through this. But thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of the week.
Thank you.
Thank you all.